Alright, so I'm going to attempt to answer your questions. Now this is going to be, I don't know how many parts to this video there's going to be. There'll probably be 2 parts, because I can only record 20 minutes on this camera. Anyway, alright, so, okay, I'm going to acknowledge hope and truth, and thank you for the kind comment. Kenneth Peck, he asked a question about Kurt being cremated. That's pretty cryptic, and I'll just say, like, I don't want to go there, and I don't think that helps with any investigation or anything, because when somebody dies, they deal with the body. Okay, so I really don't think that has anything to do with any investigation. Okay, moving on. Joshua, I tried finding certain answers to my questions regarding certain recordings of Nirvana, but they were impossible to find. Thank you for taking the time to answer me. It means a lot. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What I answered, but anyway, right on. Maybe you can leave another comment there and remind me what you're. I mean, I was trying to think of, like, what did I do in the video that was answering your question. Anyway, all right, moving on. Do you have a list of Nirvana shows that you've attended, or did you receive any cassette or VHS recording bootlegs of the show? I did a video where I did talk about all the Nirvana shows that I saw. I saw about 20, somewhere around 23. All of them were before Nevermind came out, except for the Beehive, which was the in-store for the release of the EP. That was the free in-store. The Paramount show, and then, so there were four shows, you know, like after Smells Like Teen Spirit came out or whatever, and Nevermind. Paramount show, the show in Tempe, because I moved to Albuquerque right then. Show in Tempe, Arizona. And then the show in Salem, Oregon, in December of '93. That was the last time that I saw Kurt. Now, the Beehive show, I'm completely responsible for that being videotaped. The friend that I had at that time, and he had a video camera and brought it, and I talked to those guys and they didn't care. That was actually the show too where Dave had left his hi-hat stand somewhere on tour, and he didn't have a hi-hat stand, so we had to go back to the friend that had the video camera was in a band called Comb, C-O-M-B. We had to go to their practice place right up the road and grab a hi-hat stand for Dave. Anyway, so the only video recordings, I was responsible for no cassette recordings of anything. I mean, back then it's like a cassette recorder to actually, other than a boombox, because I did have a boombox, but believe me, if I now I'd be like, you know, of course wanting to record every show, but I mean that's a big hassle to bring a boombox to a show. But having a little tape recorder or something, you know, that's why there's so many soundboard recordings back then, because that's, you know, they had a tape player to play music in between bands or whatever. So I mean, they could hook it up and tape from the soundboard. Or sometimes you could just plug a mic into one of those cassette players that were like a normal cassette player that would have been hooked up to the mixing board or whatever. Just plug a mic into it and record that way. I'm sure they did that. So the only other one is the Legend Show. So Beehive and Legend Show are the only ones that I'd consider myself responsible for. And I didn't do any videotaping on the Legend Show, but I did do some of the video footage on the Beehive Show. But only when it goes to Fisheye for like, I don't know, it's probably like 10 minutes or something. Yeah, anyway. Alright, so... And did Kurt or Chris tell you why they decided to cover and create their own interpretation of Love Buzz? Yeah, actually, after I heard Love Buzz, I asked Kurt about it, and at the apartment in Olympia, he played for me The Shocking Blue, and explained to me, he really liked the song and they wanted to cover it. I seem to think that he said something about changing the lyrics, but I can't remember exactly. I mean, that's 32 years ago. It's 32 years ago, you guys, all right? And I'm about to turn 51. So, do the math. You can see how old I was. Okay, but, I did find a copy of The Shocking Blue for 10 cents down the street from my house in Tacoma, after he told me about it, in the bargain bins in a record store. So that was exciting, I was like, I think I might still have that copy, which is crazy. That's a really great record if you've never heard that Shocking Blue record. Venus was a huge hit from that record. Okay, next. I want to know, how was Kurt like personality-wise? So there's a lot to this question. And this is interesting because for everybody that wants to know what Kurt was like, and you watch videos of him talking, you read books, one thing you have to understand is that that part of his personality being interviewed is not exactly how he was. So it's of course how he feels about things and how he interprets things, and it's amazing that he felt confident enough to like speak his voice like that, because sitting just hanging out with him or whatever, it was more quite a bit mellower. It was more like, hey, check this out. This is a video that we did. So we'd sit there and I remember watching the Evergreen videos with him, or he played the Pixel Vision films that he did, and he'd tell me about the Pixel Vision. We just talk about like cool shit. I mean, that's one reason we got along well. He was the type of person that I got along with really good. We would it wouldn't be like gossip or something, like you're gossiping about people, or it's like talking stuff that isn't meaningful. It's like conversations. I like to have conversations with people that are meaningful, whether it's about art, music, philosophy, paranormal, or whatever, right? And I had those conversations with Kurt. I wish I could remember them completely, but he was one of those people that he was fun to hang out with for that reason. It wasn't like, I wrote a comment to somebody here. It was another question, and Kurt was I knew a lot of punk rock and metalheads, that I was friends with. I'm just putting him in that category. They were like, drank a lot, got really fucked up, and played music, or not everybody did, But see, I didn't drink. You know, if I drank, it was very little back then. And it was like, because I didn't drink beer, I drank very little alcohol um, until I turned 21, or till I was about 20. I think I started drinking a little bit, but very little. Kurt actually bought me a beer one time. Um, yeah, anyway, so let's see. I want to point you guys towards a video from February of 1992 where Kurt's backstage with the Buzzcocks, and that's a good representation of kind of like what he was like. If you watch Kurt in that, he's he was a pretty mildly spoken person, so he didn't like um, you know, he wouldn't talk about being angry about things or being, you know, it was more like um, he's very much listened and very much in the moment of what was going on and would respond to that. But I think if anything really angered him or anything like that, he would have got up and just left. But you can see like how he corresponds with those guys. That's a good representation um, of what he was like in a sense. I think there's probably more you know, video moments. If I think of anything, you know, I could um, I think yeah, anyway, moving on. Okay, Dale said Kurt was sick during fecal matter and didn't like the vocals. Okay, I didn't know that. um, Do you think Kurt was serious or joking around when he said he was new wave and wanted to go after a more dancing sound? I'm sure he was joking, but when he said, I think anytime he said he was new wave, he was saying that, you know, Nirvana's not really considered a punk band or a classic rock band. They're more of like a new wave band, you know, like kind of put them in a new type of, you know, um, people now would call it alternative or grunge or whatever. You know, he was just basically saying, you know, probably considers them like a new sound. Okay. Um, yeah, Kurt covers Bowie and Leadbelly. Mind blowing. Made me get into Nirvana because it made me realize how good Kurt actually was. Yeah, yeah, that stuff is absolutely amazing. It was exciting to hear that stuff, and you know, and it's like a new album that, you know, I mean, whenever anything comes out I've never heard before, it's phenomenal, for sure. And that was when that came out. It really was like, wow, you know. There was even a few songs that they didn't make public until it was fully released. I remember that. There was like when the CD was released, um, there's a couple songs nobody had even ever heard yet, unless you were at the show. Okay. Interesting take on In Utero. It's actually my favorite record. In fact, Radio Friendly Unit Shifter is my favorite song ever. Right on. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good album. Thank you, John. I don't comment much, but I'm always here. It's from Andre. Love your content. Wish a great new year to you. World is fucked, but we still have good people, nature, and music out there. Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, let's all do our part in making sure the world is not fucked. Um, because really, it's only fucked if you let yourself think that. Um, there is obviously areas that in the world that um, are prone to religious based conflict. That's what I would call it. And usually that's where conflict stems from, is religion. Um, on a big, in a big picture, you know. Um, so let's just hope everybody can find their own God and just be okay with it. Okay, moving on. Okay, I hope you haven't been asked this before. Did you ever play guitar with Kurt? Just the two of you playing together. Your own style of playing is fantastic. Oh, this is from A Twist of Lemon 666. We jammed together for a few minutes, probably like 10 minutes on acoustic guitars. And this is after he had given me the copy of the first Butch Vig recordings, and Polly was on there. And this is how influential Kurt's songwriting was to anybody. I mean, that heard it. I mean, that tape floored me. You know, hearing Polly, it made me want to, you know, work on acoustic songs. It's very true, you know. And my brother had a Fender guitar. I think I talked about that, and I borrowed it and went and we jammed together. But I wasn't very good on acoustic, and it was pretty shitty acoustic. It didn't really go anywhere. We kind of like jammed on something, and that was it, you know. I mean, it was. I don't. I think I played for him a song that I was coming up with. That was like the first acoustic song I came up with, and it was called "Season of a Dream," and it was very diminished sounding. He probably thought it was. Actually, he always commented on any music that I did with bands. I really liked it. I mean, that was his response. So, I don't know. That's all I can answer on that one. Pandemic 7 says, reminds me that the song is called Scoff. I remembered the name was Scoff in my video a little bit further. That means you may have not watched my whole video, Pandemic. No, I don't know. You probably just posted that right when you heard that. No, I'm sure you did watch the whole video. You were just letting me know. Let's see how much time I have left. Okay, whoops. Let's see. I can't fucking... Alright, we got a little more time, I think, to get my glasses. No, you probably just left that comment when I said that and couldn't remember. And then... So that's cool. Thank you. Punk Bantam. Some of my favorite Nirvana songs aren't on any albums. Oh the Guilt, Hate Myself and Want to Die, Curmudgeon, Even in His Youth, and there's a load more that are fantastic. Pisses me off, they should have done more albums. Yeah. I still feel there's acoustic stuff that we haven't heard, that of Kurt just playing on his own. Of course, they released some when Montage of Heck came out, but I think there's more. So, you know, we're hoping that even something comes out at some point. It probably will. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe a while. Okay, Endless, Nameless, and Milk It are my two favorites. Kurt Cobain was insanely talented. Yeah, that's an interesting. Sorry. Actually, I quit drinking alcohol, you guys, a week ago. I'm drinking coffee now. I always drink coffee, but I'm drinking coffee at this moment. Yeah, Endless, Nameless.